welcome to a midsummer edition of the Daily Deuce. I'm Gary Graves from just outside Louisville, Kentucky. And in Maryland, my good friend, John Webster. How you doing, Big John?
Hey, Gary, doing real good. Enjoying myself. Had a great 4th of July. Really, really, really nice. And hope everybody had a great 4th of July as well. And how about the main man, the producer, Mr. Pitt? How you doing? How was your 4th of July?
It was good. As usual, I spend my Independence Day with Trinidadian people, so that was fun. Good food, good people, good music.
Oh man, I'm jealous, John Pitt. I'm real jealous because I love that food. Miss that, man.
Yeah.
That's why I miss DC, man. All them different flavors.
You could always come back, Gary.
Oh, you see, I would say that, but it would probably get me in trouble with somebody who doesn't want me to go back home, But anyway, that's another story. Hey, we're at that time of year. It's kind of a dead period sports wise, because there's only really one sport going, and baseball, and of course we love baseball, but it's just, but think about baseball. It's fun. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But the thing about baseball this time of year is that I'm looking forward to the All-Star game, and we can definitely talk about the home run derby coming up on Monday, which I'm a little bit more into this year for some reason. I can't really put my finger on it. It just it just intrigues me. Maybe because of the guys that are in it. I mean, there's some familiar faces like Alonso, but some of the newer faces that are in that competition, again, which we'll get into, just to kind of stoke my interest a little bit more. How about you, John?
I've always liked the home run derby. I'm interested. I mean, you got Pete Alonso coming back again. I think Rodriguez is in it.
Mm-hmm.
An Oriole is in it this year. Adley Rushman.
Mm-hmm.
Well deserved. But of course, I'm a Debbie Downer about this because I have concerns about him losing his swing because he's competing in the home run derby. So, I'm not totally happy about him being in it.
Yeah, well, I always feel like guys that compete in that probably should take a couple days off after the All-Star game, let their bodies, rest and recover and get ready for that stretch run. I mean, you figure they're already 2/3 through the season anyway. But if you're the Orioles, you're 5 games back. You need a little something in the tank, and I feel like no matter where he finishes, he probably needs to take a couple of days off just to recharge.
You see, this is where I would be a terrible general manager because I would give him like $250,000. Nobody would know about it, not to do it, and then I give him a day or two off as well. That's why I could not be a general manager.
Yeah, because you'd either be suspended or arrested.
Not arrested, because I'm not offering a bribe. I'm offering an incentive for him to have time with his family.
No, I wouldn't say you're offering a bribe. It's just like you taking somebody else's money.
Well, I mean, if you're the general manager, you have your money, you have your budgets, and then you have a discretionary fund that's used based on your discretion.
Discretionary. Yep. Good point. Good point.
That's why I could not be a general manager.
Yep. Well, wait a minute. We play them on in a podcast every week, John. When you think about it, we're already general managers. And right now we're NBA general managers because we're trying to figure out what to do with some of these free agents out here, such as one Damian Lillard, whose name has come up. He's noteworthy because he requested a trade from Portland, which a lot of people didn't expect. But I guess with their draft in recent years and the fact he's not probably going to smell the playoffs again, that and rightfully so, in requesting a trade, that he wants to be in that atmosphere. The word is, the speculation is that he is looking at going to Miami. which I think would be a great move for him. I think he could have gone to Golden State. He was interested in Golden State, but they picked up Chris Paul. But having said that, I wouldn't be surprised if Golden State was still in the mix, given some of Chris Paul's injury issues, especially in the postseason.
Well, a couple things I'll say. I'll start with your last thing about Golden State. I still don't think Golden State is done maneuvering. I think they're going to try to make another move. And I still say the best move for them slipped through their hands, in my opinion. I think Porzingis would have been a much better fit in Golden State than Boston. And I love the Celtics. I hope it works there, but I just think Golden State would have been a better fit for him. Now, as far as Chris Paul's injured, but if you get Lillard is great, but you're still looking at a size issue, Gary. Lillard's what, 6'3"? Well,
Yeah.
Paul 6'1". You still are looking at, if you play Thompson, Curry, and Lillard together, what's that? 6'5", 6'3", and 6'3"?
Mm-hmm.
You're a little on the small side. And then you got Draymond Green, who's 6'7", 6'8".
Yeah.
So I think Lillard will end up in Miami. I hear different pundits on sports radio, and they're saying, it's not about Lillard. It's about getting the best deal available. Yes and no. And I say that because you want to get the best deal, but a general manager is in a rough situation. Because if you play hardball, which you can, and try to send Lillard somewhere where it's the best deal for you, you got to keep in mind that other players and other agents are looking at what you're doing. So when you get another opportunity to get another player like a Lillard, your chances are reduced because they look at you as somebody who is not open to just getting somebody where they want to go. Looked upon, if you go and find the best deal, you're looked at as having the vendetta and revenge.
Mm-hmm.
And it's rough. I mean, there are some deals out there. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Lillard in a green and white Boston Celtics uniform looks pretty good to me, honestly. But do the Celtics, well, not do the Celtics, does Lillard want to be in Boston? That's the thing. You think about it, he's in Portland. Portland's a great town. He enjoys himself. It doesn't get too cold, doesn't get too hot. And he says he wants to go to Miami. Now, for him to go to Boston up north, it's going to get cold. He's going to have to buy a winter coat. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. Mm-hmm. So that's why I say you have to look at what you want to do with him. He doesn't have a Bradley Beal deal where he has a no trade clause, but even though he does not, you just can't go full straight ahead as a general manager and say, okay, Minnesota's going to offer me Karl Anthony Towns and what's the kid's name? Wiggins? Not Wiggins. What's the boy's name? What's the kid's name? And he played for
Edwards just
Anthony Edwards. Edwards.
But yeah, okay. Edwards just signed a max deal, so he's staying.
Yeah, but I'm just saying hypothetically, you can't all of a sudden say you're going to take these two and send Lillard to Minnesota because it's a great deal, because his agent and other players are looking how you treat this situation.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point, because I think, I mean, if they do right by him, I think that benefits Portland in the long run. Like, you're talking about being a general manager, they're getting rid of their franchise player, the other face of the franchise, but how they do it will basically influence what they do going forward. And that's something I don't think it's talked about enough, because, and of course, how do they really figure out how to pay that salary? I forgot what his number was. I think I saw something like maybe 39 million, and that's probably conservative.
Yeah. I mean, it's obvious that he has to move on. They brought, what's the kid's name? Scoot Henderson. They brought him in. So the writing's on the wall. But the other thing Portland has to realize, Scoot Henderson's not going to win a championship by himself. So you're going to need other players to go with him. They re-signed Matisse today. They matched the offer sheet, so they're going to keep him, but they still need more players. And you have to look at where you're going to send him and how the situation works out. I mean, if I'm Portland, they're saying Miami hasn't put enough on the table. Granted, one of the things that's on the table, I can guarantee you, is Tyler Hero. I guarantee you he's on the table to be traded to Portland. I guarantee you that Miami's offering that. I guarantee you they're offering it. And he's not Damian Lillard, but he's not chopped liver either. He's a very good ball player. So, but they need to put something else in the deal. But to get Hero, I mean, that's not bad. That's not bad.
Yeah. The only reason why I don't see it happening is from Miami's standpoint that, there's still an upside with Tyler Hero. He's part of that turnaround, that resurgence that got him there. And, if Miami has shown nothing, they've stuck by the guys that they drafted. And, they're committed. Spoelstra is really committed to just dancing with with who brung him. And as much as it would be great to pick up Damian Lillard, I just don't see him. Right now, I don't see him trading a Hero because they got there without him. I think they could get over the hump with him, and I think they believe that. In basketball, John, what do you trade away more than anything? You trade away picks. You trade away your future to try to get somebody to get you going in the present, because that window is so narrow.
You bring up a good point, but no deal is going to happen with Miami and Portland unless Tyler Hero is included. I can almost guarantee you that. And I'll also say this. Hero's a very good player, just like Lillard's Lillard's one of the best. But does adding Lillard push them over the top, Gary? Does that push them over the top? Think about where they lost the series with Portland. Was it in the back court or was it in the front court?
It was definitely in the front court against Denver. Yeah.
And my point is, it goes back to what you're saying about keeping Hero. You keep Hero, and you really need to find some more front court help. In my opinion, it wasn't the back court that lost the championship. You lose as a team. I'm not trying to pinpoint anything on Miami, but I think they're small. I think Denver is a very big team, and I think it's starting to go back to the big centers, some big forwards. I think they are small. And I think with Hero back, and I think with Butler still there, if they can find a bigger player that they can put in the middle and move Bam Adebayo to the 4, I think it helps them.
Yeah. The thing about that, about the front court, I don't want to say that they have flexibility in the front court with players. It's just, I think the way I look at it with the backcourt and adding Lillard is you can't have enough depth in your backcourt. And I think that's what he brings. There's a chemistry issue, of course, with any team, but adding a guy like that, I do think it helps in terms of depth. And I think that Spoelstra has shown probably more this past season than any year I can remember how good a coach he is, and how he can basically tailor the lineup or tailor his team to the situation. Because you figured when Hero went down in that first round, that their chances of even getting out of the round were slim to none. And they went 6 games in the NBA championship. Again, that window to win a championship is so small that I think you want to try to keep that group, that core group together as long as possible. Again, if you have a chance to pick up Damian Lillard, of course you're going to do it. You just have to figure out whether you mortgage your future or you just figure out how to really pay him. There could be deferred money with him. There could be deferred money with a lot of guys, because let's see, what Hero is probably up for his max contract at some point. I think his rookie contract is up, so he's due for max money. It's a lot to consider, but in terms of pure star power, I do think that's probably where he lands, because that's just a great draw for Miami in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great move. And again, please understand, I recognize, I realize, and I agree, Damian Lillard is one of the best players in the NBA. That's no question about that. My concern is how the pieces fit. And I just don't, I'm not sure that that's going to push them over the edge. I'm not sure that will. Now, if you took Lillard and you traded him to Boston, if he agreed with it, okay. So now you got Lillard in the backcourt with Tatum, or maybe you don't. You at that point, you do have to make a decision. Are you keeping Tatum, or are you going to keep Brown? You have to make a decision, because you can't pay all that money now. And now with luxury tax penalties, escalator tax penalties in the NBA, you got to figure out what you're going to do. But in my opinion, him going to Boston, where hypothetically speaking, they trade Brown, hypothetically. Now you have Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum, Porzingis, and Robert Williams. That's what you got. And that's, to me, that's a little bit better put together. It fits better. It just, and you got more size.
Yeah. And your personal likes don't figure into this at all, right?
Well,
And for the record, John, I don't know if I've ever told you this, I like the Boston Celtics too. That's the other team I root for.
I mean, personally, yes, I would like it, but I would, if I'm a general manager, I'd have to make a hard decision. If I had Lillard, do I keep Tatum or do I keep Brown? And I think I am in the minority when I say this. That's a hard decision for me. Everybody else, I think, says, easy decision, John, you keep Tatum. That's a hard decision for me.
Yeah.
Which is another show for another day.
Yeah. John, I agree with you on that one. It is a hard decision, but I'm in that camp that I think there's more upside with keeping Jaylen Brown, than keeping Tatum, because, well, you just sometimes you just don't know what you're going to get out of Tatum. You really don't.
The belief is Tatum's a better player. So as a general manager, I'm going to use that to my advantage. So if he's the better player, you're going to give me more for Tatum than you will Brown.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that to my advantage, and I'm going to get a player and some draft picks, or I'm going to get players and draft picks for Tatum.
Yeah. But John, as we try to figure out, which contender Damian Lillard ends up with, let's see where James Harden ends up, and going from a contender to somewhere else to finish out his career. Are you kind of stunned that he wanted out of Philly?
Yes, no.
Tell me no, because I think I understand how you feel about that.
No, because I think Harden is at a place in his life, his career, where he's trying. What do I want to say, Gary? And this is really rough, and I don't want, because I like Harden. But I just am not sure that James Harden is at a point where he's still chasing championships. I think he may be at a place where he's chasing peace and trying to finish out his career. Think about it. Where did he really want to go after Philly? Where did he really want to go? But he couldn't go there. Where did he really want to go?
I was thinking either the Clippers or the Heat, but just probably a team that I'm missing somewhere. Or Golden State.
He was talking about going to Houston.
Well, I thought they're still in the mix.
No, they're not. They signed how do you say, Van Fleet?
Oh, Fred VanVleet. Yeah.
I think he went to Houston. And think about it. Think about it. Does James Harden, his style of play, really fit into the style that Udoka coaches? No.
No. Definitely wouldn't fit with who did Philly hire? What was it? Nick Nurse?
They hired Nick Nurse.
Yeah.
But the thing that surprised me with Philly, and it was a good surprise, is that Daryl Morey, the general manager, who's a big supporter of James Harden, and I don't say that critically, I was really thinking that what Morey was going to do was go and sign Mike D'Antoni. And Mike D'Antoni is very much a supporter of Morey. And James Harden really blossomed under D'Antoni. But it didn't happen. In my opinion, it did not happen because D'Antoni is not known to be a very comfortable coach for big men. That's not his style. His game is small ball, guard-oriented play. Yeah. Now, when Morey did not sign him and brought in Nurse, I think the handwriting was on the wall because, again, Harden does not fit the style that Nurse does.
No.
You mentioned Miami.
Especially defensively.
Gary, say that again.
Especially defensively. And see, that's going to be key with where he lands, rather.
And you mentioned Miami. He can't end up in Miami because what does Spoelstra and Pat Riley concentrate on?
Oh yeah, they stress defense too. But
he can't end up there.
But John, the thing about the NBA, and we have to really acknowledge the elephant in the room with that, is defense wins championships, but what sells tickets?
Yeah,
and that's why I can't discount anything with the scenarios we talked about with Lillard and now Harden, because it's just going to be hard to predict. I feel like for either of those players, because again, Harden still has enough in his tank to post like consecutive 40-point games, much like Lillard. The biggest question with Harden and where he goes, you're right, he probably is looking for peace and some kind of stability, personal stability at this point in his career. But my thing with him is, if he goes to a contender, how do you light that fire under him in a key game in the fourth quarter? Because as we saw with Philly, he and Joel Embiid basically faded when in the crunch in the semifinals, especially after stealing a game on the road when they could have closed out at home. You didn't hear a word from him again.
Well, this is another question I have about Harden. Harden can still play.
Yeah,
Harden's still a good player. Not, in my book, not a very good player, but he is a good player. Well, I'll say very good, but he's not one of the top players in the league, top 10. I just don't think James Harden can go out and every night dial up 35 and 40 like he used to. I don't think he can do that anymore. Damian Lillard can. You know, the Greek Freak can.
Yeah.
You know, you look at players that can. Jimmy Butler can. You know, you see where I'm going with this, Gary?
Yeah.
He's not. He's a very good player. He's not the top player in the league like he used to be. And I don't think he can dial it up like he used to. He can give a 35-point game, but I don't think he's going to follow it up with a 40-point. He'll have a 35-point, then he'll have a 17-point.
Yeah.
And I think also, and people may say that I'm being cruel saying this. I do not think he is chasing championships right now. I think he's at a point. And think about it. If he had gone to Houston, what championship are you chasing in Houston?
Well, you're right. I mean, I was going to say that. It's like, has he ever really chased a championship? I mean, you know, he has chased statistics and money and maybe a Kardashian or two.
Yeah. The statistics and the money, I can speak on. The third point, I can't speak on, Gary. I can't speak on.
That was back in the day.
But I like I said, he's very good, but I just don't think he's that player that's going to give it to you like that anymore. I just don't think he is. And the best chance I think he had of being that player again was if D'Antoni had got the job in Philly. But this is what would have happened. Harden would have gone back to being 35, 40, triple-double, you name it, whatever. Embiid's game would have suffered.
Yeah.
If you look back about 15 years ago, we've seen that movie.
Yeah.
They brought D'Antoni in with the Lakers. They had a center. They had Dwight Howard, and it did not work. And he concentrated more on the guard play with Kobe. And I mean, Kobe's Kobe. Kobe's one of the absolute best. But you got that aircraft carrier in the middle, and you didn't utilize it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the thing about D'Antoni and Philly is that could you see D'Antoni lasting a season in Philly? Or if things went south, couldn't you just see Philly fan just really just unloading on him? That's why I think they didn't go for him. They went and Nick Nurse in and of itself, I think, was a little bit of a head scratcher for some folks, but I felt like that was a safe pick because he's a guy that, having won a championship, that maybe he can get something out of Embiid at this point in his career that maybe a D'Antoni couldn't, or anybody else for that matter. I think they would have been fine with Budenholzer or Nick Nurse, when both of them were available. But I think they chose safely and well with Nick Nurse. We'll see how that pans out. But you go ahead and make your point. Then let's go on to baseball.
I'll just say this: you know, the best place it would have been for D'Antoni to coach because of his style.
Washington.
Yep. When's the last time Washington won anything? Probably when you and I both had hair. So
I can give you the date when they won something. June 7th, 1978.
Yeah. They don't even make the playoffs right now. And they're not. But what is D'Antoni's teams known for? Scoring and being fun. They will make the playoffs. That would have been the perfect place for them because they would have made the playoffs. They would have been fun to watch. Now, once they got cemented in there as a playoff team, you would have needed to go get another coach to get to the next level. But this would have been the perfect job for them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But again, speaking of movies that we've seen before in Washington, that's another show, John. All right, moving on to the nation's pastime. We are coming up on a glorious weekend. Break is right around the corner next Tuesday. The Home Run Derby is Monday night. But before we get into that, John, let's talk about I'll say two things. One, Ellie De La Cruz, who just continues to put on a hitting show, and your Baltimore Orioles in the American League East. But first, we start with De La Cruz. I still, just as I'm like starting to come down from his first major league home run that almost went out of Great American Park in Cincinnati. He comes to DC this week, and Wednesday just absolutely crushed the ball into the upper deck. In fact, I think, you know, if you see how fans reacted to that ball, it's like they didn't even look up to see where it landed. It, you know, it bounces back into the lower deck, and I don't even think. I think they just assume it left the park. That just shows, you know, really the kind of awe that he's inspiring right now with fans. And, you know, as we were discussing before, that it came after the Nationals questioned something at the end of his bat. I don't know what that was on there. You know, they made him take it off for that at bat, and then he had it back on, and then just absolutely, like I said, just crushed the ball. That thing jumped. That thing jumped off his bat. I think they said it like 117 miles an hour. And it might have even been faster than that. And, you know, is it 455, 457 feet or something? I mean, he is an impressive dude. He is the story of the first half, I think, in baseball, which is saying something because Ohtani is just doing it all. I heard a comparison to him to Babe Ruth with him last week, which was not out of bounds, because when you can pitch like that and hit like that, again, you're going back more than 100 years to, you know, to one of the greatest players of all time, and he is showing that consistently.
Yeah, I mean, De La Cruz is on track to be in a category where very few are in. You know, I think the other day with the home run he hit, I think the Nationals really, in basketball, you give them an assist because of them questioning his bat, I think led to him hitting the ball almost to another state. So, you know, he's what do you call it, a 5-tool player, Gary? You know, he can do it all, man. He's a tremendous ball player, and he's going to help revive baseball in Cincinnati. He's going to help it because he's must-watch TV, whether he's in the field or whether he's at bat. He's must-watch TV.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie, John, that that when they return home after the All-Star break, I'm going to try to get up to Cincinnati to see him, because I mean, I want to see this guy in person and what he's done for Cincinnati. Let's see if I can put it this way. Maybe 2 weeks before he arrived, you know, he was still down here in Louisville. The Reds were drawing maybe 7,000 to 9,000 fans a game. Now you can't get a ticket. That's and games that were considered, you know, like bargain games, the games that I was going to try to get in on, now are becoming premium games. That is the De La Cruz effect, and it's good for a team that, I'll say this, the last few seasons they've been fun to watch, even though they haven't quite gotten, you know, over that hump to get into a playoff contention. They were there last year and then fell off late. This year, again, I don't know if they can sustain what they're doing now, because it's a long season, but they're just fun to watch. They, you know, it's like you see a lot of burgeoning talent. You see bright spots in pitching and hitting. I'll say more bright spots in hitting, obviously, than pitching, because, you know, they still have to make some trades there. But he's made it fun to watch baseball in Cincinnati again. Really fun, like where you go there to watch the Reds as opposed to the team that comes to town.
He also makes you, and you brought it up, he makes you realize that Cincinnati has a good team, not just one good player. He makes you watch them. You got Joey Votto there. I mean, he's a tremendous player. I saw more than I wanted to see for 3 games here with the Orioles when they were in town. So Cincinnati's they're a good team, and they're more than one player, which you alluded to, but that one player is driving everybody to watch this team.
Yeah, And in a way that the way he's doing it, as opposed to Aaron Judge last year, where I think you expected it from Judge. Of course, Judge was on a pace where he was, he was on a historic pace, and that's what drew attention to him. With De La Cruz, I think it's just you see a guy who not only enjoys the game. That's the thing that's also fun about him. Whether it's like pointing at his bat after he knocks the ball out of the park or something, but he's enjoying it, and I think he's finding out so much about himself that even he didn't know. The scouts and the general managers will say, "Oh yeah, we saw it. That's why we drafted him." But I don't think you saw this kind of power. And a couple of weeks ago, I think I compared him to Frank Robinson in terms of, just that the bat speed, the wrist action, and of course, the sheer power, coming out of that slender body. But I can't help it. It's like you and I are old enough to remember Frank, and how somebody who was as slim as he was can just crush a ball. Henry Aaron was was kind of the same way, and he's kind of a throwback in that sense. I mean, Aaron Judge is like what, 6'7", 270 or something like that. I mean, the guy is a tight end playing baseball.
He's more than a tight end.
Yeah. I mean that is one big dude, but De La Cruz is a big dude too, but he's just, like I said, there's just a lot of power packed in that slim body, and that's what's so fun. And of course, with him, crushing home runs, that brings us to the home run derby on Monday night. That's an event I think before we went on that I said I have a little bit more interest in it this year. I can't really explain why, because that it is kind of a grind of a contest, and maybe it's the field, maybe it's the fact that I disassociated myself from it for a few years, just had to step back and rekindle interest in it. But I like the field that they have. I'd love to see how they handle Seattle's ballpark, because that's especially if the roof is open. I think that will be a really fun venue to see. Where they can knock that ball out, because neither left field or right field, I don't think they're easy by any stretch, and I think it's really gonna bring something out of these guys. At least I hope it does.
Well, every year the home run derby brings surprises and fun, and I think that's going to happen again this year. You got some first year players in like Adley Rushman. Yeah, I think it's going to be exciting. You have some mainstays in there like a Pete Alonso. So I'm looking forward to it. Next Monday, let's get it on.
Yeah. I have to ask you this, John, since we're both baseball fans. Is the home run still exciting to you?
Well, for me, you got to keep in mind, I'm an Oriole fan all the way back when Earl Weaver was here. So they lived on pitching, defense, and the 3-run home run. So it for me, it's still exciting. But also I have an appreciation for the bunt, an appreciation for grinding out runs and getting singles and doubles and getting runs like that too. It's a different game now, Gary. I think the home run is still important. I still think it's still fun to watch, but it's changed some. Still an important part, but it's changed some.
Yeah. And the reason I ask that is I think because not so much because of the steroid era, but because it seemed like, almost like the 3-pointer. Everybody was going for, was swinging for the fences instead of, maybe going for, singles, doubles, and triples. That the importance of those things, has kind of been lost. But maybe because of Judge, maybe because of De La Cruz and Mike Trout and Ohtani, that I think that interest in the home run, just the sheer beauty of a ball leaving the park, I think that's kind of coming back. And it's good to see.
Yeah, yeah. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to the home run derby, but also looking forward to seeing more home runs in the second half of the season to see the fun part of baseball as always.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I hope the Orioles can get a few more home runs in the All-Star break and at least, well, they're still within reach of Tampa. 5 games isn't that bad right now, when you still got another 60, 70 games left. Tampa Bay is they're probably the only team with a 5-game lead that appears to have run away and hidden from everybody else. It's like they can beat everybody else, but they've got the Orioles right on their heels. I don't want to say that Tampa Bay is a lock by any stretch, because we know how baseball is, especially when you get into October and you move from the comfy confines of that place they play in down there to play in other venues. But my gosh, that team has just been consistent all year, almost like the '84 Detroit Tigers.
And they just aren't losing. And that's the problem. Like tonight, right at this very moment, the Orioles are beating the Yankees 13-0 at this very moment. But I need Tampa Bay to lose. I really need them. I need them to lose.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's been fun. We gotta look forward to let's see, All-Star game, home run derby. Oh, and training camps are going to be opening up soon, which I think brings in our man John Pitt, in his anticipation. So we're not too far away from that. It's been fun though, talking about what's going on here, what is supposedly the dead period of sports. We didn't even get into Wimbledon, but we can talk about that next week, because the fortnight will be wrapping up the next time we talk. So hopefully there's an American left on both sides that we can talk about. Didn't look too good from what I saw earlier today, but hey, there's anything we can talk about. And John, I would even say brush up on NASCAR, because I might throw one of those at you. I'm kidding.
Sports is sports. We just want to have a good time with it. Like we always tell our viewers each week, watch some sports. Just watch basketball, baseball, NASCAR, Wimbledon, cornhole, pickleball. Just watch some sports.
Yeah, we're going to have to talk about pickleball, because a lot of people close to us are discovering that game, and we're going to have to deal with it at some point. Anyway, absolutely. Folks, have a good one. We'll see you next time.
Hey, everybody. Take care. Have another good week. We'll see you soon.